The city was nothing but ruins. Broken walls leaned against each other like tired bones, and black smoke curled into the sky where tall towers once stood. Rain poured down, cold and endless, washing over the rubble. The streets were silent except for the distant sound of explosions and the low growl of war machines moving somewhere far away. In one of the narrow alleys, a figure lay on the wet stone. It was an elderly alien woman. Her skin was pale, her body thin like paper, her clothes torn and muddy. Her chest rose and fell in slow, shallow breaths. She looked less like a warrior of her people and more like a forgotten shadow. Her people had left her behind. To them, she was useless, too old, too weak, a burden during war. They called her worthless as they walked away, leaving her on the ground like trash. Her lips trembled as she whispered words that vanished in the rain. Nobody could hear her. Nobody cared. Her hand reached out weakly, searching for something, anything, a touch, a voice, a reason not to close her eyes forever. But there was only cold stone and the echo of the storm. Then footsteps. She blinked, her tired eyes trying to focus. At the end of the alley, a figure appeared through the mist. Boots splashing in puddles, a tall shape moving with heavy armor. It was not one of her people. It was not even her enemy's scouts. It was something she feared even more. A human soldier. His helmet visor glowed faintly under the rain. His rifle hung across his chest, ready for war. He walked carefully, scanning the ruins for danger, his steps steady, trained. He should not have been here. Humans rarely patrolled alone. Yet here he was, walking straight toward her alley. Her heart raced with a mix of fear and hope. Should she call to him? Or stay quiet? Humans were dangerous. She had heard the stories. Merciless, cunning, never forgiving. If he saw her, maybe he would finish her quickly. The soldiers stopped. He had seen her. For a moment, time froze. The rain drummed louder between them. His head tilted slightly as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. An elderly alien, abandoned, lying helpless in the mud. She expected him to raise his weapon. But he didn't. He just stood there, breathing heavily. Water dripping down his armor. Her lips parted, and with all the strength she had, she whispered, "Help. Ami." The word was barely a sound, yet somehow it reached him. The soldier moved closer, one careful step at a time. His boots splashed near her hand. She looked up into his visor, trying to find eyes behind the glass. For the first time in many years, she felt the strange weight of someone noticing her, not as worthless, but as a live dot. But before he could kneel, voices broke the silence. "Clear the sector." The soldier froze. His squad was coming. More humans, armed and alert, spreading through the streets. If they saw her, they would not hesitate. They would call her an enemy and end her life without thought. And if they saw him near her, giving her water or food, they would know he was betraying orders. He turned his head quickly, scanning the ruined street. The squad was only seconds away. He looked back down at the alien woman. She was shivering, her lips blue from cold, her body unable to move. His hands twitched. Should he leave her here and walk away? Pretend he never saw her? That would be the safe choice. The smart choice. The soldier's training screamed at him to follow orders, to keep moving, to leave no witnesses. But her eyes were wide, full of silent begging. She had nothing left, no strength, no future, only that one desperate look. It pierced through his armor more than any blade. He stepped forward, blocking her body with his own, pretending to check his weapon as his squad passed by. His heart pounded in his chest. "Sector clear?" A voice called. "Clear," he replied quickly, his tone flat and professional. The voices faded. Boots moved away. The squad disappeared into the rain, never knowing what he had hidden. The soldier knelt down at last, pulling a small flask from his belt. He lifted the old woman's head gently and pressed the flask to her lips. She coughed, then swallowed. Her eyes fluttered with life. "Why?" she whispered, her voice broken and weak. "Why would a human help me?" The soldier stared at her, silent. For a long moment he didn't answer. He didn't know himself. Then suddenly, the sky above them exploded with light. A flare burst open, bright red, cutting through the storm. The soldier's helmet buzzed. "Enemy scouts approaching your sector. Prepare for contact." His jaw tightened. He looked at the alien woman again. She was still weak, still barely able to breathe. If the enemy came here, they would kill her instantly. And if his squad returned, they would discover what he had done. The soldier's choices were running out. The woman's trembling hand clutched his glove, her voice a whisper against the roar of the storm. "Please." He stood up, rifle in hand, rain pouring down his armor. His eyes scanned the broken street ahead. Enemy shadows moved in the distance. Cliffhanger. He takes one step toward her, then stops as a dark figure emerges from the flames, watching him closely. The red flare burned above the ruins, painting the sky with blood-colored light. It hissed as it floated, casting long shadows over the broken city. The soldier gripped his rifle tighter, his eyes fixed on the movement in the distance. Enemy scouts were coming. Behind him, the elderly alien struggled to breathe. Every cough sounded sharp, painful, and loud against the silence. She was too weak to hide on her own, and if the scouts found her, she would not survive even a second. The soldier's training screamed inside his head, "Leave her. Mission first. Do not compromise the unit." He could already hear his commander's voice. A human soldier must never waste time protecting the enemy. But he couldn't ignore her. Her hand, frail and trembling, had clutched his glove only moments before. Her eyes had begged him, not with words, but with something deeper. She was not just an enemy. She was alive. And someone had abandoned her the same way his own nightmares told him he might be abandoned one day. Crunch of boots echoed. His squad was nearby, their voices carrying over the rain. "We'll sweep the north block." One shouted. "Watch for stragglers," another answered. If they saw her, she was finished. And if they saw him protecting her, he was finished too. His breath came heavy inside the helmet. He crouched low, pulling her close against the wall. His armored body shielded her from sight as his squad passed by the mouth of the alley. One soldier's flashlight beam swept dangerously close. The light passed over the wet stones, sliding just inches away from her face. The old alien closed her eyes, tears mixing with the rain. "Clear here," the squad mate muttered. Boots stomped away, fading into the distance. The human soldier didn't move for a long time. His heart hammered in his chest, his grip still tight on his weapon. When silence returned, he finally let out a slow breath. The alien woman opened her eyes again. "Why?" she asked softly, her voice almost breaking. "Why protect me?" He stared at her. Words didn't come easily. He had fought her kind. He had lost friends to their weapons. Yet, seeing her left behind by her own people cut deeper than the battles he had fought. Humans never abandoned their elders, never called them worthless. For him, this was something unthinkable. But before he could answer, the low metallic hum of drones filled the air. He cursed under his breath. The flare wasn't just for his squad. The enemy was using it too. Scouts were closing in, their machines scanning the streets. He grabbed the old woman under her arms, lifting her carefully. She was light, her bones fragile, as if she had not eaten in days. She gasped but didn't fight him. "Quiet," he whispered. "Don't make a sound." Her head rested weakly against his chest as he carried her deeper into the ruins. His boots splashed through puddles, each step echoing in the silence. The hum of drones grew louder, sharper, closer. He ducked inside an abandoned shelter, what used to be a shop. The walls were cracked, the roof half collapsed, but it was cover. He set her down gently on the cold floor. Her eyes flicked around nervously, then back to him. She whispered, "You risk your life. For me, a stranger. An enemy." He gave her a hard look through his visor, then pulled a small ration pack from his belt. He tore it open and placed it in her shaking hands. She stared at it, confused, before biting off a piece. Her eyes softened as she chewed, as though she couldn't believe she was tasting food again. The soldier leaned back against the wall, rifle across his lap, listening to the drones outside. The machines hovered past the shop, beams of red light sweeping the ground. He didn't breathe until they faded. Minutes passed. Only the sound of rain remained. The alien woman's voice broke the silence again. "My people left me behind. They said I was useless." Her lips trembled. "But humans, why? Why do you not leave your old ones?" The soldier's jaw tightened. His own grandmother's face flashed in his memory sitting by the fire, telling him stories when he was a boy. The thought of calling her worthless was unbearable. He looked at the alien woman. "Because to us, age is not weakness. Age is worth." Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time, she felt something she thought she had lost forever: dignity. But before she could speak again, the sound of boots returned. Heavy, many of them. Enemy soldiers. The soldier motioned for silence. He pulled a broken plank of wood and covered her with debris, hiding her under the floor's rubble. She stared up at him, fear in her eyes, but she obeyed. The door creaked. The enemy entered. Shadows moved across the walls, rifles in hand. They spoke in harsh tones, scanning every corner. One soldier's boot stopped inches from her hidden face. Dust rained down, sticking to her tears. The human soldier stood still in the shadows, rifle ready. If they discovered her, he would have no choice but to fight. One of the enemies placed a device on the ground. It beeped once, then twice. "Mark the building," the alien soldier said coldly. "Demolition team will clear it." The enemies filed out, leaving behind the device. The door slammed shut. The soldier's blood went cold. He knew what it was. A demolition marker. The building would be destroyed soon. He crouched, ripping away the debris and pulling the old alien free. Her eyes widened in panic, her breath ragged. He lifted her once more. She clung to him, weak fingers pressing against his armor. "We don't have much time," he muttered. Scanning the street outside, the rain poured harder, drowning the city in shadow. He carried her into the storm again, every second counting. But just as he stepped out, a red light blinked against his visor. A drone had locked onto them. Target acquired. Cliffhanger. The drone's weapon charged, its beam glowing bright, ready to fire. Asterisk. The drone's eye glowed red, locking onto the human soldier's chest. Its weapon hummed, ready to fire. The soldier's instincts took over. He dropped low, spinning his rifle up, and squeezed the trigger. A sharp burst of gunfire cracked through the rain. The drone shuddered midair, sparks flashing across its frame before it fell into the street, smashing against the stones. The shot echoed across the ruins. Too loud. Too dangerous. He knew the enemy scouts would come running now. The elderly alien clung to him, her voice trembling. "They will hear. They will come." He didn't answer. He only pulled her closer and moved fast, stepping over the broken body of the drone. His boots splashed water in every puddle as he searched for a way out. The rain poured harder, covering his tracks but also blinding his sight. Ahead, the city stretched into a maze of half-fallen walls and shattered towers. Some streets were blocked by rubble, others led deeper into fire and smoke. Every path looked like a trap. He carried her into the nearest building, what used to be a small home. Inside, the roof had collapsed and ash floated in the air. Broken furniture lay scattered, covered in dust. The place smelled of rot and burned wood. He laid her gently on a half-broken bench. Her chest rose and fell weakly, her eyes searching his visor. "Why do you not leave me?" she asked again, her voice cracking. The soldier wiped rainwater from his rifle. "Because you are not worthless," he muttered. She blinked at him, her lips trembling. No one had ever spoken those words to her before. Her own people had spat the opposite at her, but there was no time. The sound of boots was growing louder. Enemy patrols. They were sweeping the area, closing in from both sides. He needed an escape. He searched the room quickly. Broken shelves, fallen beams, a hole in the wall leading into darkness. He crouched low and pushed through. Behind the wall was a narrow passage, probably an old crawl space. It was dark and filled with dust, but it was a way out. He returned and lifted her again. She winced at the movement, but her hands clung to his armor tightly. "Hold on," he whispered. He pushed into the crawl space, crouched low, carrying her against his chest. The space was narrow. Wood cracked as he moved, dust choking the air. Every step made the floor groan like it could collapse at any moment. Behind them, voices shouted in the main room. Enemy soldiers had entered. "Search everywhere." The soldier froze, pressing his body against the wall, holding her tight. He could hear boots, the clatter of weapons, even the hiss of radios. The alien woman buried her face against his chest, trying not to breathe. Her frail body shook in fear. One enemy soldier's light passed across the crawlspace wall. The beam lingered there for a second, then moved away. "Nothing here. Check upstairs." The voices faded slightly, but the soldier knew they had only seconds. He pushed forward again, crawling through the darkness until the passage opened into another room. It was a kitchen, destroyed long ago. A broken stove sat against one wall, and shattered plates lay across the floor. But on the far side, the outer wall had collapsed, opening into the street. He stepped carefully, carrying her across the room. But just as he reached the broken wall, her hand gripped his chestplate. "Wait," she whispered. He looked down. Her eyes, though weak, were sharp. She pointed toward the corner. Something shimmered faintly beneath the rubble. He kicked aside the broken stones and uncovered a hidden hatch. An old escape tunnel. For a second he hesitated. If they went into the open street, the drones would find them. If they took the tunnel, maybe it would lead them out of the search zone. Or maybe it would collapse and bury them alive. He stared at her, then at the hatch. He chose the tunnel. With one hand, he pulled it open. Dust and stale air rushed out. The tunnel was narrow, lined with stone and wood beams, stretching into blackness. He lowered her inside first, then climbed down after her, pulling the hatch closed above them. Darkness swallowed them whole. The soldier switched on a faint light on his helmet. The tunnel stretched far, water dripping from the ceiling. Rats scurried across the floor. The alien woman whispered, This was built long ago. My people made these tunnels to hide from war. I thought they were all destroyed." He glanced at her, then at the tunnel ahead. "Not all." They moved slowly, his boots echoing against the damp stone. The air smelled of mold and rust. Each step felt heavy, as though the walls could cave in at any time. Above them, the muffled sounds of soldiers still carried through the rubble. Boots stomping, orders shouted. The enemy was still searching. The soldier tightened his grip on his rifle. If they discovered the hatch, they would be trapped down here like rats. The old alien leaned her head against his shoulder. Her voice was weak but steady. "Your people, they protect even the weak? Even the old?" "Yes," he said firmly. Her eyes glistened. "Then maybe humans are not like the monsters I was told." He didn't reply. His focus stayed on the tunnel ahead. Then suddenly, the tunnel split into two paths. One led downward into deeper blackness. The other sloped upward, faint light glowing at the far end. But from the downward path came a sound. Metal clanging, movement, something or someone was already down there. The soldier froze. His helmet light flickered against the stone walls. The air grew colder, heavier. He tightened his grip on the old alien, listening. Then a whisper echoed from the darkness. "Human." "I see you." Cliffhanger. A shadow moved in the tunnel ahead, blocking their escape. The whisper drifted through the tunnel like smoke. "Human, I see you." The soldier froze in the damp darkness, his visor light flickering across the wet stone. The elderly alien clung to his chest, her body shaking. Her eyes darted toward the black path below. The soldier raised his rifle, pointing into the shadows. "Show yourself," he muttered under his breath. Silence. Only the drip of water from the ceiling. Then metal scraped. Chains rattled. Something shifted deep in the tunnel. The sound was heavy, unnatural, like claws dragging against stone. The soldier's jaw tightened. He knew the voice hadn't come from his cum. It was real. It was close. He moved slowly, pressing his back against the tunnel wall, keeping the alien woman shielded behind him. His visor light swept the darkness, but the deeper he looked, the more it felt endless, like the black itself was alive. The old alien whispered, her voice trembling. "That is not my people. That sound is older. The tunnels. Some were cursed." He didn't like the word cursed. He trusted bullets, not myths. But the fear in her voice was enough. He had to keep moving. He chose the upward path. Carrying her tightly, he climbed the narrow slope, his boots slipping on wet stone. Every step echoed, bouncing down the tunnel. The sound behind them followed, slow, dragging, patient. The voice came again, closer this time. "You carry death with you, human. Leave her. Leave her and live." The soldier ignored it. His grip tightened around the frail alien woman. Her fingers dug into his armor, desperate, silent. At last, faint light appeared at the end of the tunnel. Daylight. Escape. He hurried, lungs burning, legs pushing harder. Behind them, something heavy scraped faster, chasing. The air grew colder with every second. He burst out of the tunnel, stumbling into the open. The rain hit his visor, fresh and sharp after the suffocating dark. He turned, weapon aimed back into the hole, but nothing followed. Only silence and dripping water. The alien woman's head rested weakly against his shoulder. Her voice cracked. "It knows you now. The shadows have your scent." He swallowed hard. He didn't answer. He didn't want to believe her words, but deep down, he knew this wasn't over. The ruined street stretched before them. Smoke still rose in the distance. Patrols would be near. He carried her quickly, weaving between broken walls and burnt-out vehicles. His senses stayed sharp. Every window, every shadow could hide an enemy. Then came the sound of boots again. Enemy soldiers entered the street from both ends, their armor glistening under the rain. A dozen of them. They moved in a line, rifles ready, sweeping the area. The soldier ducked into a ruined building, pressing his back against the cracked wall. He lowered the alien woman carefully onto the floor. Her voice shook. "If they find me, they will kill me." He looked at her, visor glowing faintly. "Then they won't find you." He searched the broken room, piles of rubble, shattered furniture. He pulled aside a slab of stone and revealed a narrow gap beneath the floor. Without a word, he helped her crawl inside, covering her with debris until only her eyes were visible. She looked terrified, but she didn't resist. The door creaked. The enemy soldiers entered. The soldier crouched low in the shadows, his rifle raised. Through the cracks of the ruined wall, beams of light cut across the floor. The enemy spread out, searching every corner. One soldier's boot stopped inches from the hidden woman. Dust trickled down into her face. She didn't move. She didn't breathe. The human soldier stayed still, finger on the trigger. One wrong step, one wrong glance, and it would all end here. The enemy spoke in harsh voices. "Clear this sector. No survivors left. Move." They turned to leave. Relief almost reached him. until one soldier noticed the fresh water dripping from the ceiling. He looked down. The puddle beneath the soldier's boots glistened, fresh from the tunnel. "Wait," the enemy said, crouching. He touched the wet stone. His eyes narrowed. Someone came through here. The soldier's heart pounded. The enemy raised his weapon, pointing it toward the rubble where the alien woman was hidden. "Check this pile." The soldier moved before they could. He stepped from the shadows, rifle leveled. "Looking for me?" The squad spun, startled. A storm of shouts filled the room as rifles lifted. The human opened fire, bullets tearing through the silence. Enemies fell, shouting in pain. The others scrambled for cover. The old alien trembled beneath the rubble, hearing the storm of gunfire above her. Dust fell, stone cracked, the entire building shaking from the fight. The soldier fought like a cornered wolf, his armor sparking from shots, his rifle spitting fire. But there were too many. He ducked behind a broken wall, breathing hard, ammo running low. His visor warned red empty soon. Across the room, one enemy commander shouted, "Bring the demo charges!" Collapse the whole building. The old alien's eyes widened under the rubble. She whispered in horror, "They will bury us alive." The soldier slammed a fresh magazine into his rifle, sweat and rain dripping down his face. He knew she was right. Cliffhanger. A loud beep echoed through the room. Charges armed. Countdown ticking. Asterisk the sharp beep. Beep, beep echoed in the ruined building. The sound of armed demolition charges. The walls seemed to breathe with the rhythm of the countdown. The human soldier's visor flashed warnings. He knew the timer was short, minutes, maybe less. The elderly alien lay hidden under rubble, her wide eyes fixed on him. Her lips moved in a silent prayer. The soldier's jaw tightened. He stepped out of cover, rifle barking one last time. Bullets ripped through two enemies, dropping them fast. But more kept coming, pouring fire into the walls. Dust rained down. Cracks split across the ceiling. The whole structure was trembling. The soldier dashed forward, sliding across the floor toward the hidden woman. He tore away the rubble, his armored gloves bleeding from stone cuts, and pulled her free. Her frail body clung to him instantly, arms weak but desperate. "We'll be buried," she whispered. "Not if I run faster," he growled. With one powerful motion, he slung her into his arms and sprinted. His boots pounded against the cracked floor, every step shaking as the building groaned under the charges. Enemy soldiers shouted behind him, bullets chasing his back. The beep, beep, turned into a rapid beep, beep, beep. The final countdown. He threw his shoulder into a half-broken door. Wood splintered, stone shattered, and he burst into the storm outside. Behind him fire. The building exploded in a roar of dust and flame, sending a shockwave through the street. The soldier was thrown forward, shielding the alien woman with his body as debris rained down. When the world stopped shaking, he rolled to his knees, coughing through the smoke. His visor cracked, sparks dancing across the display. But he was alive. And so was she. The alien woman's hand touched his armor weakly. Her voice broke, trembling but full of awe. "You carried me through fire." He stood, ignoring the ache in his chest. "We're not safe yet." The street ahead was a battlefield. Drones hovered low, their red beams cutting across the rain. Enemy squads were regrouping, their shouts echoing through the ruins. The soldier ran, dodging beams, weaving through shadows. His grip on the alien woman never loosened. Each corner he turned felt like a trap, each alley filled with danger. She pressed her face against his chest, whispering, "Why do this? You should have left me. You should have saved yourself," he answered without slowing down. "Because life is worth saving, always." She closed her eyes. No one and her people had ever said those words to her. Not once. The storm grew worse. Lightning split the sky, thunder rolling like cannons. The city itself seemed alive with rage. The soldier ducked into another ruin for cover, setting her down gently against the wall. He reloaded, sliding the last magazine into his rifle. Only a handful of bullets remained. She watched him, her frail body shaking from cold and fear. They will not stop hunting us. You cannot fight them all. His visor flickered. He looked at her, then at the broken skyline. Then I'll fight until I can't. But before she could reply, a drone's red beam swept across the room. It froze on them. The soldier grabbed her and rolled aside as a searing blast scorched the floor. He lifted his rifle, firing in controlled bursts. The drone sparked, exploded, and crashed into the rubble. The noise carried. Enemy boots thundered closer, dozens of them. The alien woman's eyes filled with tears. They will kill you because of me. He lifted her once more. Then we run together. He pushed through the back of the ruin, finding a narrow path that led into the city's underbelly, a collapsed road sloping downward into tunnels. Every step was heavier now. His armor was cracked, his energy drained. But he refused to stop. Her weak hands gripped him tighter, as if she feared letting go would mean death. Above, soldiers shouted. Drones hummed. The hunt was relentless. The soldier reached the bottom of the slope, entering a dark chamber. Rainwater dripped from cracks in the ceiling. It was quieter here, away from the storm, but danger was still close. He set her down for a moment, breathing hard. His rifle felt heavier than ever. His visor buzzed with static. She looked at him with trembling lips. You are human. Yet you are more than my people ever were. He glanced at her, silent, but her words sank deep. Then suddenly, the chamber lit up with red beams. Enemy drones had found them. A dozen, hovering in the air like mechanical vultures. Their weapons glowed, charging. The soldier raised his rifle. One magazine. Not enough. The alien woman's eyes widened in horror. No, you cannot fight them all. The soldier braced himself. His heart pounded. He knew she was right, but leaving her was not an option. Cliffhanger. The drone's weapons fired in unison, filling the chamber with deadly light. Asterisk, the chamber filled with light. Dozens of drones aimed their glowing weapons straight at him. The soldier pulled the alien woman close, pushing her behind a slab of broken stone. His visor flashed red with warnings. One magazine left. No cover. No way out. The drones fired. He moved fast, rolling across the wet floor, rifle barking fire. Bullets ripped through the first drone, sparks showering the chamber. He pivoted, took down another. But the rest closed in, beams scorching the walls, melting stone into glass. He ducked, barely missing a blast. His armor hissed where heat cut across the plates. Pain shot through his arm, but he didn't stop. He rose again, firing into the swarm. The chamber shook with explosions. Smoke burned his throat. The soldier fought like a man who had nothing to lose, his every shot precise, desperate. Behind him, the old alien woman pressed her body into the rubble, whispering with trembling lips. He will die. For me. A human will die for me. The last bullet left the rifle with a deafening crack. A drone fell, smoking, but 10 more still hovered. The magazine clicked empty. He stared at the swarm, chest heaving, rifle useless now. His visor went dark, cracked beyond repair. He pulled off the helmet, rain dripping from the ceiling onto his bare face. For the first time, the alien woman saw his eyes, tired, fierce, unbroken. The drones circled, weapons glowing brighter. The soldier dropped his rifle and pulled the combat knife from his belt. He stood tall, shoulders squared, a lone man facing death. Come on, he growled, voice raw. The alien woman's heart broke. She reached out weakly, her hand trembling. No, don't. But it was too late. The drones fired. Light filled the chamber, yet none of the blasts touched him. A strange hum filled the air, deep and ancient. The stone beneath the alien woman's hand glowed with symbols that hadn't been seen for centuries. Energy rippled out, forming a shield of light that swallowed the chamber. The drone's beams struck the barrier and scattered like sparks. One by one, their systems failed. They crashed into the floor, their metal frames lifeless. The soldier turned, shocked. The old alien's hand still pressed against the glowing stone, her eyes wide with disbelief. I didn't know," she whispered. "I thought my people left nothing, but I am the last one who can wake it." The barrier pulsed again, pushing back the remaining drones. The chamber grew silent except for the hum of ancient power. The soldier knelt beside her, stunned. "What did you do?" Her tears fell freely now. "I was called worthless, abandoned, but my bloodline, it carried the key. Only I could touch this stone. Only I could awaken the defense of my people." The soldier's chest heaved. All this time, he had carried someone who was far from worthless. She was the reason the city still held secrets. She was the last guardian of something powerful, but the moment of peace was short. Above them, the ceiling cracked. Enemy soldiers had traced the drones. Dozens of boots stomped. Voices shouted orders. The entire ruin shook with their arrival. The alien woman looked at the soldier with fear. "They are too many." He picked up his knife, his eyes burning with determination. "Then we make them regret coming." She grabbed his arm, her voice sharp for the first time. "No, this power, it answers to me. You protected me long enough. Now let me protect you." The stone's glow spread across the floor, lighting the entire chamber. Energy rose around her fragile body like wings of fire. The soldier shielded his eyes from the brilliance. Above, the enemy broke through the ceiling. Soldiers dropped in, rifles raised. But before they could fire, the light struck them, blinding, burning. Their weapons melted, their armor cracked. They screamed, falling back. The soldier stood in awe. The frail woman he had carried through storms, through fire, through death itself, was no longer helpless. She looked at him, her glowing eyes full of both sadness and strength. "I was worthless to them. But to you, I was worth saving. Now I see why." The chamber shook again, harder this time. Stones crashed, dust rained down. The power was unstable. The soldier rushed to her side. "If you keep using it, you'll burn yourself out." Her voice was soft but steady. "Then I will burn for something that matters." The ceiling split open above them, the storm outside roaring in. Enemy reinforcements poured in by the dozens. The soldier clenched his knife, ready to stand with her one last time. Cliffhanger. The glow around her exploded into a storm of energy, blasting the entire ruin open. For a heartbeat, everything was light, then silence. Asterisk light swallowed everything. The soldier couldn't see, couldn't hear, only the roar of ancient energy thundering through the ruins. It pressed against his chest, hot and heavy, like the breath of a dying sun. Silence. When his vision cleared, the chamber was gone. The ceiling had collapsed, the walls broken outward. But instead of rubble burying him, a shimmering dome of light had shielded them. The old alien woman lay at the center of it, her frail body trembling. The glow around her faded slowly, like the last sparks of a fire. The soldier dropped to his knees beside her. "Stay with me," he muttered, his voice tight. Her lips curved weakly into a smile. "I thought I was useless. But this power, it was waiting for me. My people called me worthless, yet their survival," she coughed, her chest shaking. "Their survival still depends on me." He shook his head. "Not worthless, never." Above them, enemy soldiers shouted in fear. The dome had pushed them back, scattering their forces, but they weren't gone. They were regrouping, circling like wolves waiting for the light to fade. The soldier checked his rifle. It was dead weight, empty. His knife, dull and bloodstained, was all he had left. He looked at her again. We can't hold them off. Not like this. Her glowing eyes met his. No. But together, we can make them afraid. She raised her trembling hand and pressed it to the ground. The stones pulsed again with faint cymbals, weaker this time, but still alive. The shield shimmered brighter for a moment, then cracked. The soldier clenched his fists. She was burning herself out. Stop, he said firmly, gripping her shoulders. You'll die if you keep this up. Her tears mixed with the rain dripping through the broken roof. I was ready to die the day they left me in that alley. But you gave me one more reason to fight. Even if I fall now, I fall knowing I mattered. His chest tightened. He had carried her through fire, through drones, through collapsing walls, and still she thought she was only worth saving because of him. No, he said, voice low but sharp. You matter because you're alive. You matter because you chose to fight back. The old alien's eyes softened, glowing with faint light. Then let us fight together, human soldier. One last stand. The enemies advanced, their boots thundering across the ruins. Rifles lifted, drones buzzing overhead. The soldier stood, knife in hand, his body blocking her fragile form. His voice cut through the storm. If you want her, you'll have to go through me. For a moment, the enemy soldiers hesitated. One man, bloodied and broken, still stood tall enough to challenge them all. The alien woman's hand pressed against the ground again, weaker this time. The stones glowed faintly, cracks of energy racing outward like lightning veins. The ruins themselves seemed to answer her call. The enemy opened fire. The soldier charged, knife flashing, weaving through the barrage. Bullets tore across his armor, pain screaming through his body, but he didn't stop. He cut down the first soldier, grabbed the weapon from his hands, and fired back with deadly fury. The old alien closed her eyes, whispering in her own tongue. The ruins answered, pillars of light erupting from the ground, blasting enemy drones from the sky. Together, they fought. Human strength and alien power. One carrying the knife, the other carrying the last spark of an ancient race. But the battle was crushing. For every soldier they dropped, two more appeared. The shield of light cracked again, the glow fading faster. The soldier stumbled, his chest bleeding, his breath ragged. He looked back at her. She was on her knees now, her body trembling, her glow flickering like a candle about to go out. Stop! He shouted. You'll kill yourself. Her voice was faint but steady. Better to die with worth than to live forgotten. The ruins shook one last time. The energy around her surged, exploding outward in a wave of light so bright it blinded the battlefield. Enemy soldiers screamed, their weapons shattered, their formations broken. When the glow faded, silence returned. The enemies were gone, driven back, scattered. Only the soldier and the old alien remained in the smoking ruins. He knelt beside her again. Her eyes were half closed, her breath weak. You saved us both, he whispered. Her thin hand touched his cheek, fragile and trembling. No, you saved me first. Her eyes filled with tears. My people left me, but a human carried me. You gave me worth again. The soldier gripped her hand tightly, refusing to let go. You always had worth. They just couldn't see it. Her lips curved into the faintest smile before her eyes closed, her body going still. The soldier lowered his head, rain mixing with his tears. He had fought wars before, lost comrades, seen cities burn. But nothing struck him harder than watching the light fade from someone who had finally found her worth. He stood, her body in his arms, and looked out at the broken horizon. The storm was clearing, sunlight breaking through the clouds. The war wasn't over. More enemies would come. But he had a choice now, to carry her memory, her worth, and make sure her sacrifice was never forgotten. The soldier walked into the dawn, carrying her gently as though she were the most valuable treasure in the world. Cliffhanger ending. On the horizon, massive warships rose through the clouds, proof that the battle was only beginning.